Welcome, everyone. My name is John Mason. I'm the Director of Special Projects with the Arizona International Film Festival, and I welcome our panelists, and I welcome you participants out there in Zoom. We have got an amazing program for you this afternoon. As you may know, I'm sure you know, here's Bo joining us.
Can you hear me?
We can, Bo.
Oh, great.
Are you connecting visually?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out where it just, let me see here.
As I was saying, and thank you, Bo, we can hear you. We're recording and we're getting on with things. What I'm going to do in just a minute is ask each of you. I have 5 questions, and I'd like each of you to answer them as we go around. I was going to start with you, but I don't want you to settle in a little bit and get comfortable. So we're going to start with Tiffany. We are beyond delighted to have Panavision with us. And Panavision is contributing in a huge way by presenting a massive award to the one of the finalists we're looking at right now in Best Cinematography for a feature film. And we're going to be joined by a representative of Panavision in a little bit to announce the winner. I want to say before that is done, and I said this off camera, and I mean it sincerely, I've seen each of these films. I think they're outstanding. We are looking at 4 major talents. These are people who are in the field of cinematography. This work is outstanding. They did a tremendous job, and they're going to tell us a little bit about those films. So without further ado, I'm going to start with Tiffany Coleman. And her film is Love Gods from Planet Zero. Here's a little synopsis so we know the context of the film, and then I'll ask my first question. In a dystopian future, 2 loser bagmen get in over their heads smuggling illegal stem cells for black market researchers and are soon being pursued by big pharma. All the while, they are acting as surrogate parents for a little girl who is not what she seems. Love Gods from Planet Zero. Tiffany, this is my opening question, and this is the question I will ask each of you as we go. Please introduce yourself and tell us what you have been doing before the film we are discussing here. What got you interested in cinematography? Where did you get your training? What was your first big break? What were a few turning points in your career?
Hi. So my name is Tiffany Coleman, and well, I went to Scottsdale Community College for film. I actually probably attended for about 1.5 years, and then I decided that kind of working on projects, I was getting more experience there. So I didn't really finish. To be honest, this is actually Love Gods from Planet Zero was my first real cinematography experience. Before that, I had kind of, if you look at like my IMDb page, I honestly, I bounce all over the place. I'm from PA, craft services, script supervisor, assistant director. I eventually want to direct. And so my approach with that is I kind of wanted to work in all different departments so that I can understand each department and what they have to go through. So that would make me a better director. But I actually got the chance with Jeff, the director, Jeff Kimball. He gave me the opportunity to come on with him and help him be the cinematographer. And I believe we had a great experience. I absolutely love the film. I love the direction that we went with it. And it was nice because I think Jeff and I kind of agree a lot on how our approach with cinematography is. So a lot of the times there wasn't any disagreements or me wanting to take a different approach. And so it was very fluid with how we went. And a lot of the times even we had challenges to where something last minute wasn't going as planned, just making a last minute change. We both were able to really narrow down what we wanted to do and accomplish it. So I think we both, I think we both executed what we wanted out of the film perfectly.
Thank you very much. Excellent. I neglected to mention that for those of you out there in Zoom, if you have a question for one of our panelists, please go to your chat at the bottom of the screen and type your question in chat. I will be looking at that, and hopefully there'll be some time at the end for me to ask your question. Okay, we're going to go to Irvin Liu, Dealing with Dad. And here is a little synopsis of his film. Margaret Chang is rocked from her perfect alpha mom corporate manager life when she and her brother return to their hometown to deal with the sudden depression of their overbearing father. Since her father is actually more pleasant, depressed than well, their mother and younger brother are happy with the situation. The siblings struggle with what they do as they bicker, reminisce, and bond with the family. Irvin, do you want me to reread that first question or?
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Okay. All right. Please introduce yourself and tell us what you have been doing before the film we are discussing here, before Dealing with Dad. What got you interested in cinematography? Where did you get your training?
Okay.
What was your first big break? And what were a few turning points in your career?
So I started out drawing and painting as a kid, and then I actually did econ and art, visual arts in college, and that was my first time touching a camera actually. And I did actually went into investment banking for a couple of years after undergrad, hated it, and then so went back to film school and thought my painting, drawing, fine arts background translated pretty well into cinematography. And since graduating, I've just been shooting indie features and small commercials here and there. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We're going to go to Megan Stacey and her film Balloon Animal. A young circus performer is struck under the harsh demands of her father and their community's expectations. During a night out to let loose and have some fun with her friends, she meets a young man with whom she quickly forms a bond, forcing her to question everything she has known. Megan, do you want me to repeat or the question?
Yeah, maybe one more time.
One more time. Please introduce yourself and tell us what you have been doing before Balloon Animal. What got you interested in cinematography? Where did you get your training? What was your first big break? What were a few turning points in your career?
Okay. My name is Megan Stacey, and I got into cinematography I think in high school. My high school had like a little video production program, and I was always really interested in that. And I liked the idea of technology and art kind of being, in the same field, and you can, be really creative, but you could also like play with all the cool toys and, impress people with your technical knowledge. And that was really fun to me. And I was gonna just go to community college. I wanted to save money because my brother went to UC Davis and like had a lot of loans and stuff, and I was like, I don't want that. But I got pressured into applying to go to various like Southern California film schools, and I got into Loyola Marymount, and I got a scholarship to go there. So I did end up going there, and yeah, I kind of was debating on whether I wanted to do anything else while I was there, and it seems like a lot of people there had really good technical knowledge, and I kind of felt intimidated by that. So I was like, I don't know, I'm not sure, could I ever catch up? But it turns out you can. So I spent a lot of time just shooting, as many student films as I can get my hands on. Just learning through experience. And then first big break, I'm not sure exactly what my big break would have been, but just, you know, one job leads you to the next, and you know, enough to put together a reel, and then that's enough to get to the next one, and then, you know, you end up getting a commercial with one director that happens to be really popular on Instagram, and that gets you an agent, and then the agent gets you more jobs, and then so on and so forth. So that's kind of, yeah, that's kind of my origin story.
Excellent, excellent. Well, greetings, Mr. Bilstrup, Bo Bilstrup.
Yeah.
Glad you
Yeah.
could, okay, there he is. He is the cinematographer on Swamp Lion. And I think, Bo, you get the format here. Let me read the synopsis of your film so the audience knows where you're coming from. After their son is diagnosed with advanced cancer, a truck driver and supermarket cashier, Jim and Bee, struggle with the mountain of medical bills. Forced to come up with $250,000 in order to afford treatment, Jim reluctantly decides to traffic drugs across the US-Mexican border. This film explores how far a family will go to save their child and the moral decay that follows their love and sacrifice. Oh, do you want me to read this question again, or do you?
I think I'm good. I mean,
Okay.
I started out doing light and grip. I always knew I wanted to be a cinematographer. I kind of started like making in high school, you know, a little course, and got me interested in cinematography, and then I came out and I didn't go the film school way, and I didn't want to become an AC or camera assistant because I wanted to learn the lights. So I kind of started being a light assistant, and I'm from Denmark, so I worked in Copenhagen as a light assistant for many years before, you know, moving into doing my own shorts and short films there in Copenhagen. And then I moved to Los Angeles in 2010 and started doing a lot of documentary and commercials here and feature films. So that's kind of where I am now.
Thank you all so much. Let's go back up to Tiffany. Tiffany, here's question number 2. Let's turn now to the film in question, Love Gods. How did you get involved in this project? Who approached you about getting involved, and what was their pitch? What was the big challenge that appealed to you? I think we're muted.
There we go. Okay. So I actually, I came to meet Jeff first by coming to audition for a certain role. He had actually cast that role, but still liked my energy and stuff and wanted to write a character for me down the road. But he's like, we don't really have anything else for you for the moment. And I was like, well, I do work on the other side of the camera as well. So if you need help, let me know. I'm okay volunteering as well. I want to build up my, you know, the resume. So I actually came along and started working, and I first worked in other areas for the film, and actually really quickly we learned that we kind of, you know, worked well together, all three of us, Jason, Jeff, and I. And he honestly real quickly trusted me and was able to say, yeah, this is what I want. If you can execute that, go ahead and do that. And I was up for the challenge. So the biggest challenge, I think that was probably for this film, I don't know if it was stated before. I know they had the viewings yesterday, but this was a low budget, close to no budget film. And so we were working with a lot less than you usually do on most films. But we had to get kind of creative with stuff. So instead of having dollies, sometimes we'd have to get like a rolling desk chair, and, you know, somebody sit in the chair, and as we're rolling, the people with the lights are, you know, trying to stay on cue with them. And but it was a lot of fun, a lot of dedication with it. Absolutely a great time. So yeah, Jeff was kind of the one that kind of approached me and said, hey, would you like to do this? Absolutely. I want to do whatever I can to help you accomplish what you want to with this. And that's kind of how I always am with each film. It's your project. You let me know what you want. I'll do what you want. So that's kind of the approach we took, and you have the film that you guys saw.
Thank you so much. Let's go down to Irvin. Dealing with Dad, how did you get involved in this project? Who approached you about getting involved, and what was their pitch? And what was the big challenge in the film that appealed to you?
So I think I met Tom at I think the LA Asian Film Festival that was going on here in LA, and he was actually pitching the project at the time to get some grant money, and then I had a film there, and then I just happened to be there as well, and I was like, hey, this story sounds really interesting. So I was actually the one who approached Tom of like, hey, this story sounds super interesting. It resonated with me with the Asian immigrant story. And yeah, so that's kind of how I got involved. And then the biggest challenge is, I feel like kind of the same thing with Tiffany's film as well. It's just like we had barely any money, and we were shooting like 12 to 13 pages a day, as well as like most days I only had one person on G&E, and it was hot. We shot it during summer, and we were all in a house. But then the film was actually sort of set in the winter time, so then it was like really, really hot in the house. The story we shot 15 days, and I think out of the 15 days, maybe 8 or 9 were in the house, and yeah, it was cramped, it was hot, and we had to cover a lot of pages. but it was great fun. So
Okay, let's go back up to Megan.
Yeah, so I got involved with Balloon Animal. I think M. Johnson, the director, just reached out to me on Instagram, and maybe she had followed me for a little while on Instagram. And I met with her and Catherine Waddell, who's her sort of like, they own the production company together. She was the star of the film. She's also a producer. So I met with them, and this was in early 2020, pre-pandemic. So we had like planned to do the film all the way back then, and had some like rough time frame for when we wanted to do it, and then pandemic happened, and everything came crashing down. So we didn't actually end up shooting. Probably after that meeting, it was probably a year and a couple months until we actually got to get the movie off the ground. And there was a lot of challenges. Like we had budget issues. Obviously, I feel like maybe we'll all be able to relate to that. But the most interesting thing about it, and the most challenging thing for me, was that it's first and foremost a circus movie, and that took a little bit of like figuring certain things out, and like it was a lot of coordination between production designer, director, DP. Like it was the department heads were like in sync, because we were trying to do a lot with a little, with sort of like complicated sets. And Krista Thomas, our production designer, was really great in like helping facilitate all that. But like, for example, we had like a giant, she basically had to construct an entire backlot, like in like a gravel parking lot, that was like with a big top tent and booths and a little RV park. And it took a lot of coordination, and I think it was more challenging for her, for sure. But we had to work together a lot. So yeah.
Sounds good. Oh,
Well, I've known Torben Beck, the director, for a long, long time. So I mean, I made commercials with him. I made movies with him before, and he had this script forever. And then I went to have drinks with the lead actor Michael, who is my best friend, and we were just like, we just have to do it. Don't wait on the money. We don't want to wait a year. So and I've shot in Texas before. We shot it, and he's from there, so we knew we could get the community to help us. So we called Torben and said, let's do it for no money. And we went there, and it was I mean, the struggles were I was the only one in the camera department, and then we just had 2 sound guys, and that was the basic crew. So I mean, we couldn't afford a tripod, we couldn't afford equipment. So, you know, Torben and I luckily we know each other so well that, you know, and we didn't even have time to prep because we also helped with the production. So we kind of took the documentary route, and you know, kind of the night before every shoot, we quickly went over what we needed and went about it that way.
All right, wow. Very interesting. Okay, we'll go back up to Tiffany. As the person primarily responsible for the visual look of the film, what was your process in thinking of the overall look and design of the film? How did you see the film visually? I'm sure this was a collaborative process with the director and others. Can you talk about this process?
Yeah, with it being a black and white film, at least for me, I know with watching other films in the past that sometimes color, and I was able to watch the trailer for Megan's movie, The Balloon Animal. It being circus, like there's a lot of the color, it pops, it almost is its own character. So I felt like it being black and white, we needed to really just make it pop as far as being able to see each character within their own light, within the black and white, still being able to tell the story with different contrast. And both Jeff and I think we both were on the same page as far as what the ultimate look that we wanted. So it was very much being able to get the look through the camera and not worry about, we're not doing that, you know, fix it in post sort of thing. And so we were able to, I think, capture that with what we had. We wanted to really focus on having each character captured in each of the scenes. I know there's one part of it that I really liked the most, I think, is it's somewhere through there that Charlie, she's just looking through the window of the car as it goes by, and just the crisp, clean look and just that innocence on her face. It's captured. And I think the idea that Jeff had to have it black and white was perfect, because I think that might have been lost if we had it in color. And I think it was just perfect that we were able to execute that.
Excellent. And you're right that both of you, the colors are characters. It's just unbelievable. And Megan and Stacey too. Irvin, dealing with that, what was your idea of the visual look of the film, and how did you develop that with others?
It was a really a true collaborative process with Tom, the director, from the beginning, because when we first started talking about the film, he mentioned that, you know, he wanted the house to be almost a character on its own, as a house that's stuck in the 90s, with like really outdated furnitures and clutter everywhere. So we started exchanging ideas, and he gave me a bunch of references like Alexander Payne's Nebraska and Descendant, and sort of like we decided that we wanted to keep sort of the environment outside a house sort of cleaner and brighter compared to inside a house, which is like kind of dark, moody, and especially the dad's bedroom, which is like he's depressed. So then, you know, the only light source really, it's only the TV. And so yeah, so it was a lot of discussion with Tom and sort of building the ideas from there, and then as well as and a lot of that is also kind of like, again, with the limitation of our budget, we were just moving maybe like one light per setup, kind of just like, oh, if you have a close up, you kind of just move the light in a little bit more, you know. Yeah, but
Excellent, thank you. Megan.
So let's see, the look of the movie, M came into it with kind of like a pretty strong and interesting lookbook, and we threw around a lot of references. You're right, color was like a super important thing, and like we knew we'd have so much control over the production design that we really got to hand pick a lot of the color palette, which was really nice. The intention was always to keep it like really handheld, very fluid. You know, we most of the movie was handheld, which hurt me a little bit, but that's okay. And yeah, we just like soft lenses. We shot on super speeds, like pretty wide open a lot of the time, which I'm sure my camera assistant liked. And yeah, we just tried to keep it, you know, like I remember some of the references that we kind of threw around really early on, and like kind of her in her color palettes and stuff was like the idea of things being like sun bleached, and you know, faded, and there's like a little bit of like this is like a dated kind of like environment. It's not like the look of the circus is not supposed to be very modern at all. It's supposed to feel like it's, you know, almost falling apart, and like everything's old and like cheap and plasticky, and you know, so color and texture and production design played a huge role in that. But yeah, that's kind of what we were going for.
Thank you. Bo.
Yeah, I mean, first off, it was just limitation kind of dictated a lot of the style. I mean, the only thing we could really control was the house we shot in, which we painted the whole thing and dressed up. And then, of course, we had a lot of night shoots in there, and not having any lights created, you know, a whole problem. How do we get night light without having lights if there's no practicals on? So, you know, it's a matter of blacking out windows, letting a little light in here and little light in there, and creating the ambience that way. And then another big thing we had was trucks. And since we don't have mounts or anything, so, you know, we only have a few angles in a truck, and have to be smart about that. And time wise, you know, because we were handheld and we didn't have any lights, so we were super fluid, and all the actors were great. So we kind of, you know what we need, and then kind of feel with the actors where they are, and trying to be with them close up.
We're going to continue this discussion of technique here with this next question. You've all been talking a little bit about it. I will go back up to Tiffany. Please talk a little bit about the technology and equipment you used. What was your camera? Why this camera? How large was your crew? Were these people you worked with before? What about your lighting package? I think I know the answer to this. Were you able to get all the equipment you needed, or did you have to do a lot of improvisation and deal with what was given to you?
Absolutely. So we ended up using the Canon 5D Mark III DSLR. It's primarily meant for shooting stills, but it was actually Jeff's. It belonged to him, so I was okay with. Again, this was my first, you know, real time with getting the experience for cinematographers. I was okay being able to experience that. He liked the aspect ratio, the 16:9, and the sensor was a lot. It was a great low budget alternative to some of the more like RED cameras and stuff. So that's why we went with that. It was very easy with me. One of my first other cameras was a DSLR, so it was pretty easy to pick up. Our lighting, we had a few of the tungsten Fresnel. We had a 5K, 2K, and a few 300 and 200 watts. And then we had a few larger and smaller LED lights. And as far as I remember, we didn't have a lot of C-stands or anything to really hold those. So we had sometimes people just literally outstretched arms, just trying to keep it on the characters. Very, very challenging. And a lot of the times too, we were using a lot of the natural light as well. There was a point where we were up in Payson filming, and we were mainly working with the light from outside. And so we would get a lot of clouds. And so we're sitting there waiting and like, okay, the clouds are clear. Okay, go now. So It worked a lot. We just made, rolled with it. But working with these guys, this was the first time that I worked with them.
And how large was your crew?
A lot of the times it literally was just Jeff, Jason, and I, and we literally would switch with whatever hats we could sometimes, and especially the scenes where they are acting in both of them, I'd be doing a little bit of everything. We had to flow with what could work with people's schedule. And then several other times we maybe would have another boom operator or just an extra friend. We had a drone operator that would come in. And we had a few instances where even with the drone, things would go wrong. And so we had to really think real quick on the fly on okay, well, that's not going to work. So let's figure out what we're going to do. But it was, a lot of fun moments. So, but yes, this is a great crew. First time meeting them and working with them.
Wow. What a story. The improvisation, well, you got to make some fast decisions. Irvin, how about you? How about your technology? What camera did you use? Your package? How large was your crew, et cetera, lighting?
Yeah, we used the Alexa Mini, and we shot on the Cook S4s, just because we sort of the lighting limitation. We used a lot of natural light as well, and then a lot of the stuff inside the house was actually just pure practicals. And then we had a homemade batten strip with light bulbs on them. And then I also had a couple LED light mats as well. But then that was pretty much the extent of the lighting package. But a lot of times we would actually, since we were shooting inside a house, a lot of times we would actually, I had the production go get black table party cloth from I think it was Smart and Finals, and then we just taped it up to the white ceiling, so then sort of take a lot of the negative the light bouncing everywhere, kind of take that down a little bit, and so that enabled me to control the light on the ground a little bit better. And then crew size. I had two first and a second, and then most of the time it's just one gaffer. But then on bigger days, production was able to get me 2 or 3 swing guys to help.
Excellent. Megan.
So we shot also on Alexa Mini and on super speeds. And I think we sprung a little extra for the 65 super speed, which because we were kind of planning on doing a lot of those medium focal lengths. And crew size, we had, I think depending on the day, we either had 2 and 2 or 3 and 3. And I am really lucky that I have some wonderful crew that supports me, and on this movie and on my last movie too, I used Cam lighting and grip. And Cam, bless them, they have supported me through so many things, and they always make sure that I get the stuff that I need. And so they brought a lot of stuff at a discount. So I actually I had the lights that I did want and need. I mean, we were generally limited, but I feel especially hearing everybody else's stories, I feel as though we did actually get to have most of the things that we really, really needed. And improvisation happened, but maybe not quite in the same way. So maybe I was a little spoiled, but
oh, it sounds like you're totally spoiled.
for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, Bo.
We shot on the Blackmagic Pocket, the 4K camera, and some cheap Rokinon lenses because we didn't have money, so that's what we had. But I mean, I must admit, like I was surprised by the black magic. I love it now. So, you know, limitations sometimes shows you magical things. And crew size, I was the only one on grip and electric and camera, and then we have as 2 sound guys, and we had 2 PA, Sam and Amber, who kind of helped with setting up the props for the house and redressing between scenes. So, you know, they were really hard workers because things had to move fast. So we were just like a super tight, small knit crew, you know, ready to move whenever we wanted to.
Incredible, just incredible. Okay. This question is a kind of a post question, back up to Tiffany. How did you control color and exposure on the set? From setup to setup, scene to scene, day to day? Did you use and I don't think so, a DIT, a digital imaging technologist on the set, or did you send footage to a colorist, grader off-site? What was the post-production process that you used?
So we didn't really have a whole lot to use at the time budget. Honestly, we kind of just peeked through the camera hole, checked with the lighting. Obviously, we weren't using a color, but if it looked, you know, good, if it appeared kind of like I was talking with Jeff later, there was that certain look that the character wanted for the certain mood. So we would just take, whether it's natural light, tungsten, LED, whatever it was, create that look, create that mood for the scene. If it looked great in the camera, we you know, did a few takes to make sure that within at least what we were filming, we're going to get what we wanted. Everything for the editing side was left with Jeff. So he was able to pull what he wanted from that. But yeah, that was, I mean, it was kind of almost a gamble, you know, with what we had. So it was just a roll of the dice, but make sure that we got enough footage to make sure that we have everything that we wanted.
Well, that's a good point. Did you have, when the footage moved into editing, did you do any retakes?
No, there wasn't. I know that there wasn't any retakes, but there was a point that because of early on in budget, there weren't locations that were able to be nailed down. And so the storyline kind of went a different way. And then later through it, we were able to get those locations. And so we had to kind of go back in and retake things from there. So that's kind of maybe at some point where production with editing may have changed, but we never really had to go back to get it. We got very lucky. We had a, you know, very great crew that if anybody saw something that didn't look right, or maybe, you know, Boom might have had something come in, they were really great at saying, hey, you might want to recheck that, maybe do another take, and just secure it. So
Excellent. Irvin, how did you, what was your post process like? How did you, on dailies and day to day, how did you keep things the same?
Yeah, keeping things the same. I generally light by my eye, but then but before every setup, when we are actually shooting, I would just check my light meter to make sure we're kind of in the same place. We didn't have a DIT as well on set, but they were just ingesting the footage at night, and then didn't really see kind of the dailies until we wrapped. And now we're kind of going through the coloring process and kind of just adjusting just to match the shots a little bit better here and there.
And were you now in a post house, or
Yeah, well, Tom was actually, the director, he did a lot of the editing himself. So then, yeah, but then we went through a post house and for coloring as well. And now, but we're still kind of tweaking it here and there.
I see.
Yeah.
And again, the question I ask Tiffany, any reshoots, retakes, or scenes for continuity that you might have missed?
No,
Or
none that I know of. We didn't do any reshoots, but maybe Tom was able to do his magic and match the shots in post. I haven't noticed anything, so yeah.
Sounds good. Megan.
Yeah, so we didn't have like a proper DIT, but we did have like a data wrangler that that came on, and I'm very like basic with LUTs. Like I have a handful that I like, and I use them on most things, or like change them a very small amount, but I like what I'm used to. So yeah, so I have been using the same LUT for a while, and I like it because it's extra dark and crunchy, and it forces me to overlight just a little bit, which is nice when you're in color and you know, it's like, oh, maybe my taste wasn't as you know, on the day it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, and I wish this part of the frame could be a little brighter or whatever. It gives you the flexibility to keep it there, and to do that without bringing up too much noise.
Now, Megan, for the some in the audience, I'm going to guess, or that LUT thing, could you explain a little bit what that's all about?
Yeah, sure. So depending on the camera you're using, a lot of cameras record a log image, so it'll be flat and kind of gray. It's not meant to be seen like that. That's just so it can record the most information possible in the highlights and in the shadows. So on top of that, you put a LUT, or a lookup table, which is what that stands for, LUT. And it sort of like maps the image and gives it more contrast and saturation. And yeah, it's like putting a Lightroom preset on it, sort of.
Excellent.
If you're into that. Yeah. And then what it was there more to the question? I forget, sorry.
No, I think you nailed it.
Cool.
Bo, what was your post all about?
Yeah, I mean, I did the DIT after each night, and the way we did it was when we scouted, like we would do a test shoot on each location, and then before we started shooting the whole thing, I had like a whole slew of lookup tables for each scene. So, you know, it was pretty much shooting the raw, like the visual look we wanted to for each location. So it was easier when I did the DIT at night to just put on those different LUTs, and then you had the whole spectrum of where you kind of wanted in the ballpark.
Excellent. Well, as I think you can see, we have been joined by Mr. Aaron Safra from Panavision, who's the head of Panavision's new filmmaker program. He's going to have to wait a little bit. I've got another 15 or so questions I want to ask you. I mean, we are right on time here. Mr. Aaron, I'm going to turn things over to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure to join, and I don't want to interrupt your questions. Is this, did I give you a few more minutes? That's fine. I'd love to hear what some of these cinematographers have to say. I hope to be working with all of them, so I'd like to get a sense. Maybe I can hang out after I do this. You tell me what's the best order for things.
I'm going to get killed if we don't get on with it. That I was just.
Okay, fair enough. Well, then I don't mean to delay things.
No, you're right on time.
But I do want to take this opportunity to just mention the new filmmaker program for those of you who were not at the panel yesterday and are not familiar with us. But I run the new filmmaker program at Panavision, which our mission is to provide outreach, access, and support to the community of up and coming filmmakers. You all, in particular, cinematographers, of course, who we work with most closely at Panavision, and do that in a lot of different ways. But we do have a new filmmaker program grant, which there's a couple different grants. There's an equipment grant and a post-production grant. I encourage you all to explore that, to apply for it for the right project. And all the information's on our website. I don't want to turn this into too much of a commercial, but I will just say nfp@panavision.com is our email to myself and my department. nfp@panavision.com is your open door into Panavision. So please write to us, ask questions. If you have projects coming up, whether or not it's something that we're able to help with, through a grant or otherwise, we definitely want to be starting a conversation with you all. That's why we do all these things. That's why we do things like this award that I'm about to talk about. So am I, John, able to go ahead and announce this award? Is that the idea?
You got it. It's all
Okay.
yours.
All right. Wow. Well, this is always the most fun when I can do this. And the grant is obviously, the grant program is on an ongoing basis if you don't win an award like this, but I'm very happy to be able to announce this award for a camera package valued at $60,000. I know it's the Panavision Award for Best Cinematography for a US feature at the Arizona International Film Festival. And the winner is Megan Stacey for Balloon Animal, director M. Johnson.
Whoa.
Oh, wow, thanks.
Oh, hey, Megan.
Hi.
And there you are.
Here I am.
So you will be, John, you'll be giving her the certificate, the physical certificate, or we'll be emailing that to you
Yeah,
at some point?
yeah.
Okay. Take a look at the T's and C's at the bottom, page 2. Let's talk. Let's talk about the things that are, it'll kind of go through some of the particulars about what's available and how to do it and all that. But ultimately, you'll be contacting me when you have a project to work through. So I'm happy to talk to you offline at some point, just to kind of familiarize yourself with the grant so you know what to expect. It's a good thing to do even before you have a project. But the grant is good for 2 years. So let's make sure we get a project in that time frame for you, okay?
Oh, we'll get you one for sure.
I hope so. I hope so. Don't want to leave that money on the table, and that equipment rental on the table, I should say, that camera package. So
Yeah, for sure.
okay.
Oh, thanks a ton.
Absolutely. Congratulations. And I want to see the film too. I haven't seen it yet. So you'll send me a link or something. Okay.
I will.
Okay, cool.
Aaron, thank you so much, Aaron. Wow.
My pleasure.
Gee, this is Megan. Congratulations again. How as I told you, every one of these projects was right up there, strong, very strong. The look, the quality. Megan, I'm in awe. Thank you so much. Your work is brilliant, and across the board, you guys keep going. Your talent is awesome. I thank you so much for this conversation. I thank you so much for your films being shown. I don't see any questions in chat. I guess I have to ask my usual closer, and that is advice to young cinematographers or beginning cinematographers. We've been with Tiffany all along. Let's start with Bo. Bo, and first of all, maybe a quick side note here. You're from, did you say Denmark or?
Yeah, Denmark.
Could you just briefly comment on differences in filming Denmark, US? Anything stand out as difference in approach? And
I would say like $6 million movie in Denmark is big budget, so it's not indie. So that's the main thing. And of course, like there's like the workflow is a little different with like there's not as strict with the G&E who can only touch this and who can touch that. So I got yelled at the first time I came here and I touched the flag on a bigger production. So
okay, advice to up and coming cinematographers.
I mean, my biggest advice would be have patience and be humble and just try and hook on to someone and learn and don't be angry when you have to do stuff that's really, really bad, because that's where you start. Like I've been through it many years. You're the lowest and the lowest, but you learn so much by sticking to it.
Irvin, what's your advice?
I guess just keep on shooting, as well as just trust your gut instinct and your feelings and sort of your emotions towards the story or whatever you're shooting.
Tiffany.
I'd have two things to say. When you find that team, like I think Megan was talking about earlier, when you find that team that you guys just work so well with, treat them like family, because they'll help carry the look that you're going for through the whole project. And the other thing that I'd say is again, we were talking earlier, I've worked with Megan before. The film that we were on, there was a little incident, but she did not sacrifice what it was that she wanted to bring to the project, what the ultimate look was. And I'm glad that she didn't, because at the end of the day, it's like her artwork, or I mean, it is her artwork. It's her stamp on the whole thing. So don't, I know you may have, like, there may be conflicts, but if you can still get done what the director wants, but still do and have that integrity that it's your work, do it, because at the end of the day, it's your work. Like, that's what you need to stand by and be happy with it.
And I have actually one additional question after this, but let's turn this over to Megan for some advice to the younger set.
Yeah, I would say that kind of piggybacking off of what Bo said a little bit, like there'll be jobs where you're not feeling it, or you don't feel like it's there, or whatever. The imposter syndrome never goes away. The next project is always bigger and more intimidating, and if you're feeling like you're intimidated, then you're probably doing the right stuff. So, you know, just fake it till you make it. Mostly, that's what I'm learning. You'll never feel like you made it, but you're making it. And then lastly, this is a hard business. Take care of your own mental health before anything for your career. Make sure that you are not pushing yourself so hard that you're burning out, because grind culture is like way too emphasized in the film industry, and it could you know, it could lead you to a place where you're burning out. And take care of your mental health first and foremost.
Here's my last question. What happens if you or somebody on your crew makes a mistake? You blow a shot. And maybe you're looking at things in dailies and the director says, what happened here?
Fired immediately.
And so how do you, and if you did it, what do you do? If it's one of your guys, how do you cover for that? Let's go with Tiffany.
That's an interesting question. I mean, obviously I'm thinking about like business as a whole. Usually if you're the manager, the people underneath you, they're your responsibility. So I would, as the cinematographer, take responsibility, look at what we did. I wouldn't talk to that initial crew as far as, you know, AC and stuff. I would not bring it up in front of everybody, bring it to the side on, this is what we've done, this is what we need to, you know, do. If you see me doing something wrong, let me know. If I see, you know, I'll let you know in a professional manner. And then go to the director and talk about what they want to do, whether it's immediately get it done there, schedule another day when we need to come back, obviously look at location, time of day, whenever it was all taken, to try to replicate what it was that you're going for and missed, I guess.
Irvin, how would you handle a situation like that?
Kind of similar to how Tiffany would handle it. It's just take, even if it's one of your crew members, like ACs or gaffers or, you know, grips, you know, you're kind of managing them, so you take I would take responsibility. And then yeah, but I don't dwell on it, and just like, hey, you know, because we only have so much shooting time on set anyway, so just figure a good way out of like, hey, let's solve this as soon as we can, and then when we get a chance, and be like, hey, what can we do better to not repeat the same mistake?
Oh,
yeah, I would kind of piggyback on Tiffany and Irvin, and you know, I would always say if it's something that happens while in the moment, you don't be afraid to speak up. You know, say it right there. You know, even though people get angry, it's still better to get it out and fix it right there if you can.
excellent.
And just own it.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, Megan, your last comments. Take us to the close here with these comments. And again, thank you so much, you wonderful cinematographers. It certainly, your work would indicate there's hope for the motion picture business. given the quality of work you've produced. So again, thank you so much, and the very, very best of luck to you. And thank you out there in Zoom land for listening. Megan, take it away.
So if somebody makes a mistake, I mean, I feel like more than anything, what I've had problems with on set is like maybe not people making technical mistakes, but like attitude problems from if they're my subordinates, like, you know, what Tiffany's saying, it's like that automatically all my departments are my crew and that is my responsibility. So that's stuff that I feel like has to be addressed like very, very quickly. For technical things, mistakes happen and it's a collaborative effort, and I'm hiring people that I trust usually, so we can find a way to address it. It's never the end of the world, and you know, as long as we could all kind of keep communication open, I'm sure there's a way to get around it or fix it. So
Okay, excellent advice all along the line. Again, thank you, panelists. Thank you, Zoom. Thank you for supporting the Arizona International Film Festival. See these films, they're great. Have a wonderful rest of the afternoon. Thank you again.
Congrats, Megan.
Thank you.
And Megan.